Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning and welcome to a Monday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. We'll recap everything that happened in the world of sports. Some crazy stuff happened yesterday in the National Football League.
Oh, my God.
Pretty much set. You pretty much know who's going to play in the 14 playoff. There's only 5 teams, in my opinion, that have an opportunity to play in the 14 playoff. We can talk about that. Take your comments and questions and texts and all that good stuff on the Titan MR hotline and Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. We'll have Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com, second portion of today's program. We'll go to the Titan MR hotline now. We'll be joined by JC. Good morning, JC. How are you?
I am fine. How's it going? Big weekend. Had a good time, man.
Yeah, it was a good win for the Gators. It went about exactly how I thought it would. You know, it was the only game of the year that going into it, I'm like, we are way better than this team before they kicked off. South Carolina had not played any. They'd beaten Kentucky somehow. Kentucky, we know, is not a very good team either. I wonder, well, how many losses does Kentucky have now? 4?
I want to say 4. And after Saturday, you know, that had to be a real sobering experience to lose in the last minute and a half to Vanderbilt, a team that had lost 26 straight SEC games.
Yeah. Remember Doring thought Kentucky would beat Georgia at the beginning of the year?
You just got to love the guts he has to come out with stuff
He's backtracked on that now, though.
Well, yeah, no kid. That's hard to do, right, after watching. But, QB, it's been a bookend type of season for the Gators, you know, here at the Swamp, for fans to watch and for players to play in. The 2 most fun times were the very first game and the very last game, as far as I'm concerned. I went to both. A great night against Utah to start the season and a great night to end the home season against South Carolina. You know, the fact that they forced these turnovers and South Carolina looked nervous and Florida just took a woodshed at them. And it was a good thing to do after what happened last year in Columbia. So I think it was all one of the better nights we've had here in Gainesville for a game in quite some time.
Yep. Rick says,
and then you guys were in the end zone getting your 92 notice.
Oh yeah, too. Coach loves that dumb crap. I had to sprint. Literally, I had to sprint down.
You made it.
I don't know where we are in the booth. I had to run down the exit stairs. Then I had to run through. I was like OJ running through the airport. I was running through the stadium, the concourses, and then down the steps. And the dude, right when I got to the gate, because I got there about 2.5, right before ETN hit that long run. We'd just gone on offense. And I got to the gate, and he was like, media can't come down here. I was like, bro, I got to go down here and get introduced. I'm going right back up. He had no idea who I was. So he lets me in. We go down there. And, of course, there was like 4, reviews, it seemed like, in that 2-minute time span.
Yeah.
And then they introduced us, and then I had to run. I was so out of breath running back up the stairs. That's a long ways up there, by the way.
You know, and credit to you for taking the stairs and not the elevator because you didn't have time to wait. But Sean could have handled it. I think Sean could have handled it for about 5 minutes.
Well, he did. I mean, he handled probably 15, 20 plays without me.
Yeah.
But, you know, I didn't want to do it, but Coach was adamant on me being down there. So.
Well, there's 25 guys down there on the 92 team, 20 guys, something like that. So
yeah, they did a horrible job. They have to get a better communicator for these reunion type deals because I live in town and I still never got an email about it. And the only way I knew about it was because I see Coach twice a week. He told me about it last week. So
right.
Well, we got a new solution to that.
They gave you a night. You had to feel very good, QB, about the nice ovation the crowd gave you and the other players. But that had to feel good. I enjoyed watching that.
Yeah. Mike asked here, Shane, are you surprised how little Whittemore has played from Parish near Mayaka? I'm not sure what he's talking about, Little Whittemore. How little he has played. I got you. I thought he was talking about his little brother who's going to Mississippi State. Yeah. I was telling people this the other day. When you're a new coaching staff, it gives this coaching staff a million tons of credit. I mean, I told you these guys know what they're doing, but what they're doing is they kind of have to feel their way through the team.
Yeah.
And then, halfway through the season, their guys that they brought in either by recruiting or by transfer portal have been playing. I mean, think about it. At the receiver position now, it's Ricky Pearsall. It's Caleb Douglas, true freshman they signed out of Texas. Their running backs. Their two running backs are damn good, but they're their two running backs. And so they've done a really good job, I think, of coaching this team. But that's why Trent hadn't played a lot. Trent probably won't be here next year. He's already graduated. He will be very successable where he goes, and he's probably going with his brother.
There you go.
Greg Shane said he gone and AR got tackled. I know. I could see it developing on one of the zone reads. It's the play that he scored on multiple times this year, and we had him outnumbered, but he didn't outrun him. So I thought he was gone for sure. Anyway, it was a good win for the Gators. They played extremely well. Ran the ball at will, and Anthony played well, protected the football, missed some throws. He probably missed 4 or 5 throws that if he completes those balls are huge plays. Just throwing a little bit behind on some crossing routes. But other than that, I don't think the game could have gone much better. Special teams kind of sputtered around a little bit here and there, but it was good. It was very good.
It was. That game was never in doubt. I mean, it's the first time I've been in that building in a long time, QB, where I felt the home team really had control of this. And they were completely in control. And look, you can say what you want about South Carolina, this, that, the other. They were a 6-win team, and they had some good wins this year. So, I mean,
they do. What good win do they have other than Kentucky?
That's a good one. Any win for South Carolina is a good win, right? So but listen, I think Beamer has done a pretty good job up there. But boy, that team looks so ill prepared and so undisciplined, and their quarterback has absolutely no confidence. I mean,
they're not a very good team. I knew it coming in. They will get blasted this week by Tennessee,
and then Clemson. Clemson's going to run them out of the building too.
Oh yeah. So they'll end up 6-6.
Yeah.
I don't know what bowl they're going to. Looks like the Gators will probably be penciled in for the Gator Bowl or whatever it's called now, the Tax Slayer. There were tons of Tax Slayer folks in their sport coats and their forest green sport coat with their Tax Slayer logo right here.
That doesn't get the blood
the press box area.
That just doesn't get the blood moving for me, QB. But hey, whatever. Anthony wants to play a bowl game. Be a good place to showcase his talent again. It's important they play. And look, 8 wins is not out of the question. It's all going to come down to that Florida State game because I'm assuming they're going to beat Vanderbilt this weekend. So, what a season. We talked about it all year long. You give this guy 7 or 8 wins in this season coming off of what Mullen left him, and it's a great job, man. Just a great job. And I credit these guys for the way they played after that Georgia game, man. I have to give them a lot of credit. It would have been so easy to pack it in. But they just – that's the culture that we've talked about all year long.
Well, the culture's been great. And
it has.
And it really took a turn. And I'm not picking on anybody, but when they booted Brenton Cox off the team, he had some issues in Georgia, but we took him here. He'd had some issues while he'd been here. But you can just see it was almost like they just flipped the switch, and the team – just the attitude has just been remarkably different. And so sometimes I wonder why, as a coach, when I put my coach hat, I go, why didn't they get rid of this dude sooner? But I think coaches get enamored with guys that have some talent, and they want to keep them around, but enough was enough. And
that was it.
But they're playing totally different for sure. Now, they ain't played too good. The 2 teams that we've beaten are not very good, but it doesn't matter. This is look on the Titan More text line. Good morning. Do you believe the Gators are finally settling down into Patrick Toney's defense, or was Cox that big of a cancer? I think it's both. It's both. Like I brought up on the broadcast the other day, South Carolina had like a 3rd and 12. Rattler drops back. He throws a flat route. We're playing soft shell coverage. You let him complete the ball, and you come up and make the tackle. And that's what we did. We didn't do that against the Missouris of the world because we took bad angles. But look, these guys can coach. They can really evaluate talent, and they're going to have a tremendous recruiting class. And like I said, it's going to be year 3 though. Year 3 when we're going to be a really good football team, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, and you need more weeks like last week. You get this kid to decommit from Miami to come here. Don't know how great he's going to be, but the fact is he's a 5-star player, and that gets people's attention, right, QB? When some 5-stars see other 5-stars coming, they kind of think, well, maybe I should look at this place. So who knows? It could really multiply itself a little bit.
Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Darring Weeby, a realtor with Caldwell Banker, M.M. Parish, will provide you fast, friendly, reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. Speaking with JC on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline, we'll have Scott Carter and getting a lot of Gator info out of him. Gators go to Nashville, noon Eastern time game in Nash Vegas this week. JC, let's move on a little bit to some other things in college football. We'll really hit on the Gators with Scott. Anything else stand out to you? I think there's only 5 teams, in my opinion, that can play for the national title.
And those would be
Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, TCU, and Tennessee. Four of those five are going to be in the 14 playoff.
Yeah, I agree with that. There is one other team that could slip in, but they'd have to win a game that you don't think they're going to win. So,
who's the other? Who is that?
I think it's
USC is the only other team that has an opportunity, but I don't think they're even going to be under consideration because they can't stop JC running the football.
So what happens, possibly, right, but what happens, and I don't want to bring up this hypothetical because I don't think it's going to happen, but it possibly could. It is not impossible. If LSU were to beat Georgia, considering what Tennessee did to them, how do you figure out who goes in the 4-team slot? But let's just assume they don't beat Georgia. But think about the chaos that would ensue. I think we had a big break with what TCU was able to do over the weekend in terms of normal, having a calmer idea of who would come in. Winning at Texas was a very good win for TCU. They were in control of that game throughout, and that helped. Also, I don't have to listen to Bo Nix talk, and I don't have to listen to Oregon talk anymore because thank God Washington beat them, and everybody who knew anything about the Pac-12 knew how bad Oregon's back side was on defense, and how Washington, who statistically was one of the better passing teams in the country, just
they're the number. Michael Penix Jr. out of Tampa, Florida, is the number 1 passer in America.
So you've got a real situation where this team's getting 12 in a rivalry game. Listen, they hate each other just like Florida, Georgia. I mean, that's a border war there, and so that game was very wrongly handicapped. And I don't have to talk about Oregon anymore. I'm very happy to hear that because I don't want to talk about Oregon. I know what would happen if they played Georgia again. I just do. So we don't need to see that. So QB, could it be that 2 Big Tens, or rather 1 Big Ten, 2 SECs, and a Big 12 team get in? That's the most likely scenario.
I think TCU, I don't know who else they have to play, but they still have to play their championship game. If they run the table, they're getting in. If they lose a game, they're out. I think it all depends on what TCU does to allow Tennessee or that one-loss Big Ten team between Michigan and Ohio State to get in. But the talk of LSU getting in, the only way they get in is they win. There is no way, I'm telling you right now, people, there is no way LSU can beat the Georgia Bulldogs. Unless Stetson throws 4 interceptions. That's the only way. LSU is a very pedestrian team. They should have lost yesterday. I picked them to lose. If you watched any of that game,
I did.
Arkansas dominated the game. Arkansas had to play their 3rd-string quarterback.
Yep.
They could not move the football, but LSU could not move the football against one of the worst defenses in America.
It was a real letdown.
LSU does not have a chance against the Georgia Bulldogs.
I mean, it was a big letdown for LSU. Kind of expected that, to be honest with you, QB.
Dude, they couldn't block them.
I know. It was unbelievable how they had no luck blocking Arkansas and had all kinds of luck handling Alabama. But I think that they have exceeded the expectation that I think their fans have had. Brian Kelly has done the same thing after a slow start. And I can't see any way you would say LSU gets in front of Tennessee But then I can't also see any way that you say the SEC champion wouldn't get into the game, and rather into the Final Four.
We're not going to have to worry about any of those scenarios. They can talk about them all they want tomorrow night on that show.
They will.
I just don't. I've watched Georgia in person. I've watched LSU in person. I've watched Tennessee in person. My eyes told me that Georgia would manhandle Tennessee, which they did. The score was not even close as the game. The score wasn't close.
Right.
Or the game wasn't close as the score, I should say. And there's no way LSU can handle the Georgia Bulldogs. I hate saying that, but I'm just being straight.
I like that. I agree with that. And I think that gives Tennessee a shot in. I mean, they're not going to have to play on Championship Saturday. They are not going to have to play, and they're going to be 11-1, QB. How do you say that?
I think Tennessee deserves to get in if they go 11-1. I really do.
And they are. They are.
The problem is they're going to have to play Georgia again in the first round.
Well, that depends on how they seed the teams, but you're probably right. But listen, TCU is looking at Baylor and Iowa State left.
And who do they have to play in the championship game?
Well, then they would play the number 2 team, and that could be Kansas State. That could be – I don't think it could be Texas. So I think it's going to be Baylor and Kansas State. I'm sorry, Texas Christian and Kansas State. And Kansas State, very, very psychotic team. One week looks awful, the next week looks great. So they're dangerous in that regard. But TCU, I think, has a path. I really think they're gonna make it.
Well, if they went out, they're getting in. If they lose the game, they have no chance.
And the problem with Ohio State and Michigan have is just their schedule. They have absolutely had nobody on their schedule, either team, whether it be conference or non-conference, that excites you. And so the loser of that game, I think, is out.
Yeah, possibly. Joseph said here, QB, even the best QBs in the world make bad decisions, make bad throws, and lose games. Our boy Josh Allen's going through that. Oh, I've never said that the great ones don't, but I will tell you this. I don't know how he's playing the way he is with his injury, and he still made unbelievable throws to get them down there and get it into overtime and stuff. It's amazing when that way that dude plays.
But they've got a Kansas City problem, dude, and that's right now the Chiefs are back on top in the conference for home field.
Well, we can't worry about that. If they face them again, I mean, they play them very. Didn't they beat them this year? The Chiefs.
I don't know. I
thought Buffalo beat them this year. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. Well, let me tell you something. They're still the favorite to win the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean,
did you know that?
That's just debatable, but I wouldn't bet against.
No, I'm just telling you, the people out in Vegas say they're still the favorite.
Yeah.
So
no, I do believe it. I do believe it. Yeah.
Michael says here, number 9, your broadcast was outstanding. It really is fantastic to listen to you and learn as we watch. You and Sean are superb. Thanks for listening. Okay, so Scott says, I despise Auburn, but I can't help but root for Cadillac. He won't get the job, but they'll need to keep him on staff. Let me tell you something.
That dude.
He had the longest post-game interview on the field I've ever heard. And what was great, it was great. It was outstanding.
I love his emotion, man. I do.
And Cole Kubelik was like, you know what? I know they're in my ear saying,
let him
wrap it up. He just sat there the whole time.
Let him go. Let him go.
It was awesome.
Dude, guy went into the post-game presser with no shoes on because they were soaked from the Gatorade bath. Dude, how many times can you say you got a Gatorade bath with a team with a losing record? So
not only that, though, then the whole student section was still staying there, and he's running and high-fiving all the students.
Well, you talk about what the defense has done when Cox was kicked off. I think the same thing can be applied to Auburn with Harsin being kicked off. They have completely changed and gotten some more energy in their group. And I'll tell you, the other team that had a big win, that really needed a big win in a close game, was Alabama. They needed a big win in a close game. So it's good to see these kids playing hard in spite of all of the expectations that may not be met. And I just got to credit the coaches in these cases for getting these kids ready to go. And these were some really good games this weekend. That the Washington Oregon game, the Alabama Ole Miss game, the Auburn A&M game for that team was a big game for those players. So, hey, good for them. Congratulations. I love watching Cal. I just think the emotion and the sheer enjoyment that he shows is so refreshing and good to see in the game right now. I think it's important.
Yeah, I mean, it's
kids feed off that.
There's rumors flying out there that Lane's going to be hired there before the Iron Bowl. I don't know. I don't know how much more money Lane wants. First of all, I mean, he's making, I think, $7 million in Oxford right now.
I think Lane wants to go to a place that has a chance to win a championship, and to him, Auburn would give him that chance.
Yeah, I guess.
I do. I believe that. I think that's what coaches coach for, QB. You know,
no, they do. They do. But I just think I know people that have coached for Lane, and Lane likes to do it his way. He has a lot of Steve Spurrier in him.
Yeah. Well,
and I just have a problem. I have a problem no matter who the coach is at Auburn. All those damn boosters that are calling the shots are still going to have their hands all in the cookie jar.
But John Cohen does not take that job if he was worried about that situation.
Well, I mean, that's what every one of them damn ADs say when they take the job. I don't care what that guy says. I'm running this program. Well, Jimmy Yellowwood or whatever his name is.
Well, hey,
it runs the program, okay?
Well, look, they're about to open a $92 million facility that they say is the best in the country. So all things pointing to Lane Kiffin at Auburn, and I don't see why he wouldn't take that gig. I mean, Ole Miss is a great place. He's got no pressure, but I don't think he's doing it to relax. I think he wants to win something. I really do. All coaches.
I agree with that. I don't know if he's going to be any better than he has been at Ole Miss that he will be at Auburn. All right, we got another text here on the Titan Mark text line. Daryl says, "Good morning, guys. I think South Carolina player was offsides on the block field goal. I agree. I said it on the broadcast. Do you think Willie Jackson's son fits into our offense?" Khalil got in there late in the game. It was good. That was my favorite part of the game. That's why I absolutely love Billy Napier. Because if you think about it, this used to drive me crazy with Dan Mullen. When we blew out people, he never put in the guys that bust their ass every day. Drove me insane. Dan got in. He got in walking quarterbacks to hand the ball off. He got in guys that are transferring, get their last play in the swamp. I mean, that's what it's all about. What was Daryl's question again? What did Daryl ask me? Let me pull it back up. I forgot what he asked me. Khalil, he's a decent. I mean, he ain't gonna fit in. I mean, nothing against him. They have some really highly recruited kids coming in, and the only senior we have is Justin Shorter, but we're not missing a beat. So Khalil will be here. I don't know if he'll play, but it was good to see him out there and catch a ball from Jalen Kitna for sure.
Yeah, sure.
So JC, Drake May's the best quarterback in America.
You think
hands
so?
Down. Oh, yeah. I watched him against Wake Forest, bring them behind. It's amazing to me how bad North Carolina's defense is. They're 9-1.
Yeah.
I think they're going to play Clemson, so they're both going to be 10-1.
That's right.
Do you realize both of their losses, Clemson's and North Carolina's, were due to Notre Dame?
And I think someone tried to correct me on this, but I don't think Notre Dame has lost an ACC game since they got into this agreement with the conference. And if they have, maybe
somebody corrected me the other day, corrected you on that. I can't remember who it was. They did research on it.
I don't know about that. He says Miami beat them. I'm trying to find it. I can't find it. So maybe he can help me on that. But whether they did or not, dude, so they're 25-1. I got that stat from Pete Thamel. I kind of trust him to know these things. But maybe he and I are wrong. I don't know. Regardless, 25-1, 26-0, they could win the ACC every year if they played in it. But it's and that's another coach, QB, who's really turned it around, man. I mean, they were dumping all over Marcus Freeman after that Stanford loss at home. My God! And now look at what they're doing. They're playing their way into a pretty nice postseason as well. So I love.
Yeah. They could be watching the Gators in the Gator Bowl. I think it's going to be either Florida, Notre Dame, Florida, Clemson, the way it looks right now.
Well, you know what? The fans would love to drive to Jacksonville to see Clemson or Notre Dame play their Gators. I think that would be great, but I wouldn't be excited about it as a player. I'd rather be going on a trip, but what do I know? I just know Anthony wants to play in a bowl game. He pretty much said that.
Did he tell you that?
No, I read it. But I think because of that, I'm confident that Florida's going to stay intact for the bowl game. A lot of teams, their roster goes off into oblivion, but this is good for Florida, man. Look, it's going to be a great game. Thanksgiving Friday, and I don't want to get ahead of myself. That's going to be a fantastic game. Florida State is playing their way to 9 wins.
The Cindy's are playing great. It's hard to believe, but they're playing good.
Blew out Syracuse. My God! So after you get done with this cool trip to Nashville, then you gotta focus on a short week and get ready for your biggest rival.
Greg says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law. Got to watch AR on Saturday, and living in the Midwest, I got to watch AR 2.0 on Sunday and Justin Fields. They're identical damn QBs. But he says AR may just be a little more athletic. They're the same guy. I think Fields is quicker. He may not be as fast, but I think he's quicker than AR. But they're the same guy.
Now.
I mean, they're gonna run for a bunch of yards, and they're gonna go like 10 of 22 for 170. That's who they are. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that's who they are. They have to rely on their running ability to move the football, because Justin Fields yesterday, by the way, they lose at home 31-30 to the Detroit Lions. Fields went 12 of 20 for 167 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. And he's going to run. You're going to run for a bunch of yards. That's exactly
ran for a lot of on a fantasy team. He is the best person you could have if you follow fantasy football. But hey, Fields and the Bears, that whole division is a disaster. And good for the Lions. Glad to see it. That NFL day yesterday, QB, was so crazy. The Lions win a road game. The Buffalo snafu on the goal line there.
That was crazy. That's so hard to do. People take that for granted, though. But, man, taking a snap from your own 1 yard line, even on the 1 yard line going in, because everything gets condensed. Yeah. And when you got a 335-pounder nose to nose with your center, and then you got 300-pounders in the A gaps, it causes problems for that center. And even, like I said, even when you're going in, I used to hate goal line, short yardage, getting under center. Absolutely hate it. Because all you're worried about is the snap.
Yeah. And, I don't know. It happens. It happened yesterday. I still, Minnesota, give them credit, man. Only one loss this year. I didn't think they were winning at Buffalo, but they played well. Justin Jefferson made some of the most incredible catches. He is the best wide receiver in terms of catching the football, I think, in the league right now, QB. You can't. He made the greatest
catch in the history of the football.
He took that game over. He just flat took it over, and God bless him. I mean, that was great stuff to watch. Sorry.
Go ahead.
How about the Dolphins? Tua. Everybody crapping on Tua. They yelled at Miami for taking him in front of Herbert. Right now, who's hotter? So I mean, look, Miami. You can't say they're tough too, man. Their offense is good. They got so many fast wide receivers. It's crazy.
So. Burrow had Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, right?
Yes.
Good God.
But look, Mac Jones had Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith.
I know, but those damn LSU boys, holy cow.
They're really good. They're really, 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 really.
All right, before we let you go, I got a text here on the Titan More text line from Josh in Mississippi. He says, how about that Dez Watson? You think he earned at least 1 or so runs near the goal line during the Florida State game in a couple of weeks? No, that was unbelievable, though. The reaction of the team on the sideline. And, boy, he's a big human being, but in all blue, he looks enormous.
I know.
I stated it. I mean, he just looks bigger when we wear all blue. That's the first time we wore all blue all year.
Yeah, yeah. Do you like the all blue or do you prefer the white?
I hate it. Absolutely hate it.
It's Boise State-ish looking.
Yes, I hate it.
Well, look,
that's the only time they're wearing it this year, so I'm good with that.
That's fine. So they'll be all whites or whites and oranges up in Vanderbilt.
No, Billy lays it out like everybody knows what we're wearing before the season even starts.
Oh, okay.
That's how he's organized, man.
What's the combo on Saturday? Blue pants?
I don't know. I don't follow it, JC. I just show up and then I'll find out.
Do your job. Yeah.
Well, all right, JC, on our Peachland Dental picks, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. You and I both. You went 7-6. I went 6-7. So we stink.
Yeah.
And your triple sombrero option play or whatever you call it. You went 1-2. So hopefully nobody's following you.
Hopefully. But look, I'm 65-56. It's been a tough year. I don't know any handicapper who's having a great year. The guy on ESPN, the Bear, as they call him, he's getting murdered. He's sub 500. It's been a hard year. But listen, I think the Final Four is more or less a formality as long as TCU keeps winning. And I don't think Tennessee's going to lose. I think they're going to get in.
Yeah, I told you, there's only 5 teams in the mix. Yeah. I don't care what Heather Dinich says. I don't care what Reese Davis and them say there's only 5 teams. The only 2-loss team that has a prayer is if half the Georgia team misses the bus to the Georgia Dome. That's the only chance.
Well, look, that game with State was inside a one-score game at halftime, and boy, some really questionable calls went against State. But Georgia's a better team. We all know it, and nobody felt like State was going to win. But look, Georgia.
I mean, the punt return is what kept the game close. I don't know what the hell Kirby. That's a great example. And we got to get to Scott Carter here. But all these Gator fans complain about our end of the half situations.
Yeah.
Okay. Kirby tries to get more points at the end of the half. They go 3 and out with 3 incomplete passes. They punt, and the dude runs it back for a touchdown.
Yeah. But the first thing they did on again, it's the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half. And in the first 4 minutes of the second half, Georgia took the game over, and that was the end of the night. Yeah. So, that's what they'll do. And they'll do the same thing to Kentucky, and then they'll do it to Georgia Tech, and then they'll do it to LSU, and they'll wait to see who they play in Atlanta. Golly, could the path be any easier for Georgia?
Hardly any. JC, don't give me that crap.
Give me a job.
Last time I checked, the state of Alabama and Georgia are connected, and it's a very short drive.
Yeah. Well, look. Okay, I'm not taking anything away from Georgia, but come on, look at that schedule. They haven't done anything.
Okay, so for your uniform update, Dan, who does research for us out in Texas.
God bless Dan.
Vandy, we wear white jerseys, orange pants. And for the semis, we're wearing all white.
Oh, that's great. See, I'm all for that. I'm all for that. It'll be a fantastic next 2 games. Florida can get to 8 wins. Go ahead and put him up. Give him a nomination at least for Coach of the Year. At least he gets a nomination.
Yeah. All right, JC, we'll talk to you on Wednesday. That's JC joins us on the Titan More Highline. We'll come back. We'll be with senior writer, FloridaGators.com, Scott Carter, get his thoughts on the press box food from Saturday night. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate. With premium brands like Bass Pro Shops, International Diamond Center, Regal Cinemas, Dave & Buster's, Nike, Wawa, the Gadget Guys, and the HBC's restaurant Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, now selling head beer Coach American Lager and draft in 16-ounce cans at Spurrier's, Visors, Gator Games, and select stores across Gainesville. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. Let's go back to the Titan More Hotline. We're joined by senior writer, FloridaGators.com, Scott Carter. Good morning, Scott. How are you, my man?
Dane, what's up? Yeah, a little celebration for Gators fans on Saturday after the Gators, probably the best all-around game they played all year. So I'm guessing Celebration Point was busy Saturday night.
Yep, no doubt. I want to get to this Facebook Live before we jump into some other stuff. And this is not directed at you, Chris. No, not Chris. Who is this? David. If I can get it to pull up, dadgummit. Yeah. Why can't we get the last couple of minutes of the first half figured out? We just can't seem to get it done. It's not misplays, messed up coaching, or whatever. We just can't get it right and score. Okay. Billy takes timeouts at the end of the half. People need to go back and watch it. We get I think it was a long run on their side of the 50, but we had a illegal formation. I believe they said Michael Tarquin. Was that when he was in the backfield? We had, or it was a holding call. I can't remember. But the bottom line is he tried to score and then things went bad. And coaches don't want to take chances. And as I just mentioned, I don't know if you got to see the Georgia Mississippi State game, Scott.
A little bit.
At the end of the half, Georgia's up by 12, I believe.
Somewhere like they were up.
They were up, and Kirby, it was less than like a minute. It was like a minute and a half. Kirby tries to get a couple first downs. Well, they're forced to punt. Well, they punt it, and guess what? State runs it back for a touchdown.
Yeah.
So, look, and here's the other thing. You have to be really be able to execute a 2-minute drive. We're not good at that. We're not good at throwing the football. I mean, I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah.
It's the facts. And so he's very careful. I've had zero problems with it. You go back to A&M, he tried to do it. Anthony went the wrong way on a play. It just hasn't worked out. But you gotta trust your 2-minute offense. I don't think he trusted. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. No, I think you're spot on there. I think that conservatism that, some fans get frustrated with is because of the lack of trust there. I think it's grown. So they tried to do some things the last couple of games, but they get off schedule early in those drives, and then they just kind of revert, okay, let's get out of here without making a mistake. So they do need to execute better. He talked about that last week after the A&M one. He says, look, I was trying to do some things there at the end of the first half. It didn't work out. We've got to be better there. But, yeah, reading between the lines, there's certainly been a lot of conservatism there due to not wanting to take chances and turn the ball over. So,
yeah, I mean, I have zero. I'm an offensive guy. I want to score points. I want to throw the ball down the field. But you have to be a smart coach, and he knows his team better than anybody else. Andy's got a good question for you, Scott, here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melon Law.
All right.
Scott, where does the Watson's play rank as the most memorable defensive play in Gator history? He goes, it helps us forget the shoe throw.
That's right. It's a good point. Well, if he had scored, it would probably be automatically in the top 3 or 4. But just the fact that he got the ball, you see the big man rumbling there. I mean, that's a scene that, brought back, for me, Refrigerator Perry or something. I mean, so it was a good moment in that win. Certainly one of the plays of the season. You got to go. I'd have to really do a study to see where it fits all the time. But, man, can you imagine, Shane, if he had scored, what that place would have been like?
I mean, I said this earlier, and I said it on the broadcast. I mean, we know Dez. I don't know what he's weighing in right now, and he's a big human being.
Yes.
But he looked twice as big in the all blue to me.
Yeah, and the dark colors are supposed to slim you down, right?
Right, but he just looked way bigger. So he's going to look huge in the all white because, I remember all white has always been my favorite no matter where I played, and I used to go to the equipment guys, whether it was in the NFL, where I was like, we need to wear all white. Them damn linemen hated it. They do not want to wear all white. But he's bigger than the Fridge was back in those days, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's bigger than the Fridge. Yeah. After the game, Billy, I think he referred to him 440. We've heard anywhere from 415 to 450 all year. You just never know. I think he fluctuates on the mill before, the game. But, yeah, he's a 400-pounder plus. And you know what? I give the guy credit because, to be 400 pounds and be able to move it all is pretty impressive. But him putting that stiff arm out there on Rattler and picking up some yards, I got to give the guy credit, man.
Yeah, Scott says, kudos to your booth mate on calling the fake punt. Yeah, because, when South Carolina came out, it was a timeout. I think we called timeout or they called timeout. And Sean comes back after the break. He's like, if I'm the Gators, I'd be looking out for a fake here. And I'm thinking, you're not going to call a fake punt after everybody's had time to talk about it during a timeout. And I'd be damned if they didn't execute it. we know Beamer has multiple fake punts, but that one was beautiful, very well executed.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because that's something that Billy did reference during the week about their fakes, called it a gauntlet of fakes that they had. And they still got beat on one. It happens. You got to tip your hat there to Beamer. And you're right. Maybe Florida, after that timeout and talking over, they're like, they're not going to do this one. It's too obvious. And then they still.
And I think we were in punt safe too, which means we're playing for the fake. It happened. So
it happened. Yeah.
Scott, going back to the offense, obviously we ran for 1,000,000 yards. At one time, I think we had 3 rushers for over 100 yards. I don't know if we ended up the game that way because I think Anthony may have taken a
He got
loss.
sacked, ended up with 96. Yep.
Yeah. In all the years you called the Gators, was that one of the more impressive rushing attacks you've ever seen?
Oh, for sure. I mean, besides that one against Georgia in 14, when the Gators pulled the upset with Kevin Taylor and Matt Jones running crazy, they had 418 in that one. This was the highest since with 374. And, you add in there with Anthony being able to do what he does, it just makes Montrell and Travis Etienne or Trevor Etienne much more effective. And I mean, I love Trevor Etienne. He's quickly becoming one of those guys that I think can be a huge difference maker. If the Gators are to get back to that elite status, Trevor Etienne is going to be a star player in that transformation. And of course, Montrell Johnson's great too, a career high. But first time if Anthony had got sacked, man, they've only had three 100-yard rushers in one game ever. That was back in 84? 84. Johnny Williams, Hampton, and Lorenzo Hampton's. Can't remember the third one.
Neil Anderson?
No, James Massey. Believe it or not, he was the one who was listed in the notes. But then, of course, that got scratched after Anthony's sack. But still, you got to give credit to the game plan because they knew that they were going to be able to run against the Gamecocks. They really followed the same formula, Shane, as they did at Texas A&M. And, Billy, after the game, said, look, we know what we're good at. We've always been good at that. We're going to play to the strengths of our team. That's a good coach.
And I say this on the broadcast because I love well-designed pass plays. You can just see them, guys breaking open and the ball in the air. It's beautiful from up high. But I be damned, these guys can scheme up some run plays that are amazing to me. They can get the defense to set a front a certain way, and we attack it the other way. Because you just don't. In high school you see it, but you don't see it big time football where you break as many long runs as we do. And it's because they're blocked extremely well. They're coached well, but the scheme is outstanding. And it's just it's fascinating to me how we can draw up some run plays and get chunks out of them.
Yeah, I mean, they're averaging 6.6 yards per carry. That's second in the FBS. And you're right. I mean, it goes into the design. It goes into the backs, the people who are running. It also goes into that offensive lineman, which we knew was going to be a strength going into the year. And they've utilized, I think, that group to its maximal potential. And I got to give real credit. I mean, Osiris Torrance has been better than I expected. I mean, he's unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be here next year. And I don't blame him. He's going to be maybe a first-round pick. He is an excellent offensive lineman.
Yeah. This is Bob up in New York. He says, Shane, do you think ETN will be freshman of the year? Yes. Do they do offense, defense nowadays?
Man, I think they do, Shane. I'd have to look at it. I think so.
Because that dude, Harold Perkins, he's a game changer for LSU, the true freshman linebacker. If they do offense, defense, I think that's your 2 freshmen of the year for sure. Zach asked, Shane, is Rashada ready to play year 1 or need a year to learn? I have not. I've never watched Jaden Rashada play football. I'm just going to trust the coaches. I've heard he's a really good thrower of the football, which excites me. But I will tell you this. If Anthony goes pro, which I still think he's going to, I think Rashada has a very good chance to be the starter. It just depends on, Kitna looks very calm, collected when he comes in there, threw a beautiful ball to Khalil Jackson. Just from his running ability, they want that guy that can run, 5 or 6 times a game to keep the defense honest. I don't know if he can do that, but we shall see. But we don't need to worry about that right now. We got to win a few more games and move from there. All right, Scott, let's move to the defense. I just felt starting last week at A&M, even in the first half, I know they moved the ball, but it just had a different feel to me. And I don't want to take shots at anybody, but I feel like with Brenton Cox not being on this team, it's almost like everybody on the defense is like, hell yeah, coach, about time you did that. I mean, it sounds terrible, but I just feel like there's more team unity now.
Well, so I had this conversation with somebody yesterday because, they do look a lot different, especially the last 6 quarters without allowing an offensive touchdown. And it's not like they've changed the system. It's not like they've brought in a lot of new players. It's just about energy, man. It's about those intangibles that when coaches talk about them, sometimes we roll our eyes because we're wanting specifics, right? But those intangibles like, chemistry, energy, teamwork, all that stuff. I mean, that's real, man. So if you do eliminate or get rid of a guy who maybe was a disruption to that and one of your supposed team leaders, then it does free the other guys to play more free and natural. And I think we are seeing that. I think there's an element of what we've seen these last 6 quarters without question that revolves around what you just brought up. Now, are guys playing better? Yeah, I think guys are playing better. I mean, they've got 6 turnovers in the last 2 games and 3 again the other night. You're getting some breaks. I mean, Trey Dean was around the ball in the right spot the other night, a guy who's been hammered this year. I think young guys like Antoine Powell-Ryland, obviously Princely, Uman who else? I mean, defensive back who Miguel Mitchell, I think, has played really well last couple of games. So I mean, Jordan Young had a really good series in that game. So I just think it's a combination of a lot of things that necessarily it's not like black and white where hey, there's a new guy there, new player, or whatever, a new system. It's not that. It's just guys making plays, man.
Yeah, Brent says on Facebook Live, how much comfort should we have with the defense right now? Is it window dressing against bad offenses, or has the defense gotten better? I think it's both. The offenses we played the last 2 weeks have been horrible.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to argue with that. But it's about energy. Playing defense to me, it's all about attitude and effort. You may not be great, but if you fly around, you play hard, and you're in your gap, you have a chance to be successful. Now, is a team going to complete some balls? They're going to make some runs. They're going to block you. They're going to out-scheme you? Yes. But it's all about effort. And if you look at defensive effort last year, it was piss poor. It used to drive me insane how lazy some of our guys were on that side of the ball. So, be excited. I mean, we won't be tested much this week offensively, but I think Jordan Travis and FSU playing really well on offense. So that will be that'll be good test for us. Scott Michael says here your story about one of the receivers was great. It was Jordan Pouncey, right?
Oh, Jordan Pouncey, yeah. I enjoy writing about those guys sometimes, Shane, because so many fans would email me or just ask me, hey, who's that number 86 who's always, with the flag? And I'm like, you know what? So I went and talked to him last week because I didn't know a lot about him personally either. But he's a really interesting kid, one that Billy Napier really had a lot of great things to say. So I appreciate someone checking that out.
Well, he's those kind of guys that the average fan has no idea who he is because he doesn't play. He's on special teams every now and then. But it was great to see Billy get him and some other guys in it.
Hey, now I'm here. You guys broke up on me.
Ball the other day?
What's that?
Didn't Pouncey get a catch?
Oh, I think he did come in there late, Shane, and he was also one of the captains before the game. So, that was great to see that on senior day, last ever college football game for a guy who, as I wrote in the story, committed to Notre Dame, signed with Texas, and transferred to Florida. He had quite a ride, and it didn't work out on the field for him, but I think it's going to work out in his life for him.
Yeah, there's no question. There's so many guys like that. All right, Scott, let's move forward briefly. We traveled to Nashville, noon kickoff against the Commodores, and they're coming off their first win, I think, in 26 SEC games. I can't wait to hear Coach Napier's presser today. They're a very talented team, blah, blah, blah. The hell with that, Coach. They're not very good. Let's be honest. But it was a huge win for Vandy.
Oh, huge win, man. I mean, anytime you haven't won, gosh, I don't know if they'd won an SEC game before the COVID pandemic. I mean, that kind of tells you right there all you need to know. It's been a long time, man. 26 in a row. And to beat Kentucky, which is why I love sports, Shane. You know, Kentucky beats the Gators beat South Carolina. Didn't South Carolina or Kentucky beat South Carolina? I saw a thing the other day where the ladder there is just wacky with those teams. So, but Vanderbilt, you know, you're right. Billy, I'm sure, will be pleasant in his comments on the Commodores, but this is not a very good team. But it's a game that we've seen many years. The Gators are going to be heavily favored. They're going to have to go up there. Going to have to get out of bed early.
It'll be cold.
So going to be cold. We've seen them look good and answer that challenge. And we've seen them come out and, you know, make it a kind of a closer game than it should be. So you'd like to see them come out and take care of business because they're riding some really good momentum right now. And if they can go out there and look good and win, it's going to really make that Florida State game. It's add some juice with both of those programs heading in the right direction.
Yeah, last thing for you, Scott, here. This is from Jack. He says, what bowl game do you think we will go to? What I've heard and we saw up there, the Gator Bowl, the Tax Slayer people were up there Saturday night. What are you hearing?
I mean, Gator Bowl is a possibility. The matchup that I've heard there is Gators against Notre Dame, which hasn't happened since what you played, Shane.
Yes.
I know you don't want to reflect.
We had no – I mean, I can't believe we lost to those guys, but
I know.
That's for another program.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one later. Get Shane down memory lane. But then you got Music City Bowl or
– That's what I want.
You could just stay in Nashville for the next
3 weeks. I know. I'll
be
here for the next 3-4 weeks, 5 weeks.
And then the other one, maybe the Liberty Bowl. So we'll see. I'm good with – I'm like you. If I get a vote, I'm going to be in Nashville sitting right there with you under the Ernest Tubb record shop.
That's right. All right, Scott. Good stuff as always, my man. We appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, Shane. Take care.
That's Scott Carter. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. You can follow Scott on Twitter at Gators Scott. Also, all his great writing on FloridaGators.com. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Let's get to this day in sports, which is brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Beat the summer heat. Schedule your air conditioners tune up today, keeping you chill in the Florida heat far away. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Call us today at 352-376-2366. This day in sports, in 1993, Don Shula becomes the coach with the most wins in NFL history. That's brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Also, Rue's Over State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit them at ogreinsurance.com or give them a call, 352-240-1779. Tomorrow we'll have Buddy Martin. I'm supposed to my Vandy guys never know when they're going to get on, but make sure you tune in. Andy asked on Facebook Live, Shane, who are the two guys in your Twitter photo with you, Stoops, in the HBC? Cooper Carlisle, who played 13 years in the National Football League offensive lineman. He was here 95 through 98, I think. And then Jamie Speronis, who was Coach Spurrier's director of football ops at Florida Redskins and at South Carolina. So it was good to see those guys. Coach Stoops as well. He's kind of the ambassador for OU right now. Not as involved as the head ball coach at Florida, but he's got a lot of things going on. He will be coaching as well in the XFL of the Arlington Renegades. He's their head coach. So it was good seeing Coach Stoops. Hope you enjoyed today's program, folks. We will see you tomorrow. Take care.